Welcome back to Gem and Cozy. Today I'm going to share with you guys how I make these fun little doodly images for my carousels and my photo slideshows on Instagram and TikTok. I recently started doing this on my iPad with the app Procreate to add a little bit more personality and customization to my photos. But I know that not everyone has access to Procreate and an iPad, so I'm also going to share 2 other free ways to add some really cute customizations to your images. I feel like this is a really simple but unique way to capture your audience and connect with them through images of your day-to-day life. Or if you're like me and you own a business, this is also a fun way to highlight some of the products that you offer. So what I like to do is collect photos that I plan on using for my next carousel post. And then you can email it to yourself or airdrop it depending on what kind of devices you have access to. I like to use the same brush and kind of keep my doodles in a similar layout so that everything looks a little bit cohesive. And I like to make my canvas a square because I like to post all my images on TikTok and on Instagram as a square format. I like the old school Instagram look of the square templates. And I also think that it just makes it easier for me to figure out where I want to lay out my designs for each image. So as you can see, I'm using the same file and I open my next image, and once I move the image far out enough to the size that I would like, I start to find the negative spaces in the image that I want to add a little element to. This picture was for Stationery Club, so I immediately thought of snail mail and wanted to add a little envelope up here. There was a little bit more brown negative space from the table. This image is already kind of busy, so I knew that I was going to need a darker color because the white wasn't going to stand out against the yellow. I try to use colors that already exist in the image so that it complements everything. So you can use black, but then you can layer on top with white or pink or blue in this case. I'm just making some separate layers to duplicate the mail time and stagger the design so that I'm creating a little bit of a shadow right here. I know that some people also like to just type in a little bit of text if they want to share maybe more of like a story through the carousel. I usually share little snippets of my life mixed with some photos of my small business life. I really enjoy being able to share more of my personal life with everyone, but I always don't really know how to approach that since I only have a small business account for Gem and Cozy. So I prefer to do a little bit of like a mix and match with my carousels, and I will include behind the scenes from my packing or my new products, and then mix and match that with more of my personal life. So things that I have eaten, or maybe some traveling, parks, things about my dog, or a book I'm reading. I haven't been able to do this before, but I see a lot of people using photo carousels to tell a story, which I think is so fun and creative because it helps the reader slow down when they get to look at the images rather than a video. So even though short form videos are more popular these days, I think that there really is an art to photo slideshows. I do think that it offers something special and unique when you share photos instead of all videos. So even though this process takes a good 10 to 15 minutes to add little elements to, I always think that it adds a special touch, and ever since I started it, I've been looking forward to collecting photos to edit like this. And I also think that it's helping me slow down and appreciate my day-to-day life when I edit these photos. In one of my previous posts, I shared a ciabatta sandwich that my boyfriend and I made from scratch, and it was really cool because we just got a stand mixer and made the bread, assembled everything, and it just felt like so special compared to a sandwich that we just, bought. So I had so much fun editing that. For this one, I'm able to share new sticker sheets and items that were part of my spring launch. I also love to use photos of customers' orders so that I can give them a little shout out in the process. Once I finish editing everything, I just save all of the photos individually and then email it to myself. I post everything through my Android because I am a Samsung lover, so I do not have the luxury of the whole airdrop system. But if you have an iPad as well as an iPhone, this process will actually be so much easier. I usually like to end my carousels with a personal photo. So in this case, I'm editing my little audiobook photo and it had some envelopes next to it for Stationery Club. I recently finished reading Remarkably Bright Creatures, and this was such a great read. The audiobook was so fun to listen to, especially because the narration for one of the main characters is an octopus, and I felt like the narrator did such a great job bringing that character to life. This book was so heartwarming and at the same time like a really fun mystery because it follows multiple characters and eventually you figure out how all of their lives are intertwined. But two of the main characters is an older woman named Tova who works at an aquarium, and then the other main character is the octopus who lives at the aquarium. I'm so getting distracted, but here is the final slideshow that I ended up with for Instagram and TikTok. Now I'm going to move on to a second option that I use to edit photos sometimes. This is going to feel a little bit unorthodox, but there is a social media app called Lemonade, and they have some amazing free templates that make it so much easier to decorate your photos. At the bottom, you can add custom templates and kind of swap between different ones. They have themes like trendy, outlining, fashion, and then you can delete any extra elements that you don't like and change the words to match your image. They have a lot of fun doodles, and you can also go through stickers and text individually if you don't like the templates. So here I am playing with the options that they have. I think my favorite template for stickers like this are the outlining options because it adds a little outline to each image and it just adds a little pop that feels cartoony and hand-drawn. So now I'm going in to move the words around and figure out what I want to keep. I only like to add words if there is enough space and if it adds a little bit of an extra background or story to the image. So I picked this photo because my name is Dana and the person who ordered also had the same name as me, and I always find that so fun when a named twin orders. So I had to add a little caption at the bottom that says order from my named twin. After that, I go ahead and do the same process of editing all the other photos and adding whatever template or image that I think works best for the spread. I also wanted to share that for the templates, some of the words are not editable. So this one that says that girl, you can't change the words on that girl, but on some of the other templates, you can change the words. So if you click it and it doesn't give you that little pencil to edit it, that means that you can't change the word on it. So I always have to just delete those. So here's what it looks like if you decide to use their text options. They have so many different fonts, and I think they're so much prettier than the ones that you can find on TikTok or on Instagram. So I really like going into Lemonade once in a while to see what features they have. So after you're done editing everything, what I like to do is to go to the preview option before the post option and take screenshots of every item, because if you post it to Lemonade, it will create a watermark, which is really messy if you want to post it on your other social media accounts. This does mean that the image quality isn't going to be as good, but if you're just posting it to social media, I feel like this works perfectly fine. You can also save all of your edits as a draft so that you can edit the images later, or you can post it to Lemonade if you use the app. The templates made outlining these images so easy. The third and probably one of the more popular options to edit your social media photos is Canva. I rarely use Canva for my social media posts, but they have a whole section for Instagram posts and their templates are really beautiful. I think that they're a lot more polished and commercialized than what I'm looking for though, because I like to just kind of add little doodles to mine. But if you're looking for something more structured like this to have really polished stories or posts, I think that Canva has some really great options. So here is a quick and easy example of an Instagram post that you can make on Canva. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, you guys. I hope you enjoyed watching the behind the scenes on how I edit my little photo slideshows. Do you prefer photos or videos on social media? Let me know.